Hi, good evening. Gary Turner here. I hope you're doing well and keeping as safe as you can and as present as you can at this challenging time. What I'm looking to do today is what I tend to do is when I do my writing on the blogs on my website. You can find a whole range of different blogs if you're interested in topics around vulnerability, around culture, leadership, increasingly around systems as I learn more and more about them myself. You can find a whole range of different media on hexochangenow.com should that be of interest to you at all. But what I'm coming on today to do is I like to narrate the things that I write from time to time to increase accessibility. Some people like to listen as a podcast, which this will be repurposed as. Some people like to read. Some people like to jump on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Twitter. Maybe you're joining me live now. If you are, do drop a little note and say hi. But what I'm going to be looking to do today is to narrate my most recent blog, which is called Systemic Change is Much Easier Than We First Thought. Sustaining it, however, ... That seems to be the challenging part. So again, this is just a thought piece, me joining a number of dots, but also really grounded in how I'm feeling more and more at a body level around stuff that I'm learning, that I'm understanding. So again, really trying to come from a place of exploration, a place of curiosity, and as little as possible from judgment. So I'm hoping that you're able to see that screen. I think that you can. And yeah, I'll just get into the narration. Again, you'll be able to find this on the Activating Consciousness podcast shortly. And yeah, I hope that you find some value in it. Again, also always welcome constructive challenge, healthy debate. And that's one of the things really why I wanted to narrate this today, so soon after writing it yesterday, because I just don't, I feel personally that, with everything that's going on, there's absolutely right that there's a lot of anger, frustration, upset, emotional charge. I get it. I've been in that melee myself a lot. But I'm just curious to invite the space for exploration and curiosity, and where can we come together to explore and take action collectively as best as possible versus tearing strips off one another, which I understand why that may be the case, particularly at this time. So that's really the intention. And I'm hoping that me narrating these blogs is a space to slow down, reflect, connect. And I hope you find some value in these provocations. So let me get into it. So again, the blog's called Systemic Change is Much Easier Than We First Thought, Sustaining It, However. So this is a personal reflective piece, but I really felt compelled to share this week. Is systemic change really just one change thought away? Question. I'm realizing that it is not the monolithic paradigm buster that is so often touted. Just think about the fact that in less than 24 months, we have seen real life evidence of the following. And again, this is whatever anyone's personal perspective of these different topics. I'm not looking to try and convince you one way or the other. These are just facts as to what has shifted, and really on quite a global stage and very, very quickly. Point one, UBI or unconditional basic income being introduced, also known as the furlough scheme in the UK, where citizens were given free money when everything was shuttered due to COVID-19, particularly during 2020. Question from me, why not just introduce unconditional basic income wholesale from tomorrow as a major step towards improved equity? So it's a question, it's a provocation, it's a curious wondering. What are your thoughts around that? Feel free to drop a comment, a further challenge, or any other ideas you may have. Like, we've proven that it can happen, so why not continue offering it, is my question. Systemic topic number two. In less than 72 hours last week, again, whatever your view of this, in less than 72 hours last week, European financial leaders found a way to collaborate across made-up borders to stop SWIFT payments in and out of Russia. So based on this, surely all so-called third world debt could be cancelled over the next 72-hour period. What would stop us doing that? Open question and provocation. Point number three. how quickly pharmaceutical companies and governments, especially in the West, collaborated to develop a vaccine for COVID-19 and in super quick time. And again, I emphasize, I'm not looking for any judgments, or fighting what's right or what's wrong. We've all got a perspective. The point is, this happened. At the same time, however, there is evidence that countries in the global south are not getting free and ready access to the vaccines. Something I'm learning about called the vaccine apartheid. This is a critical one as well. Point number 4. In West Papua, which is a region to the west of Papua New Guinea in Southeast Asia, which is known to be one of the most biodiverse rich places on the planet, local people are literally fighting for their lives to live in line with nature as local governments seek to oppress and dominate the West Papuan people whilst protecting foreign interests in their gold mines. So this is really curious to me. So ironically, the same miner in question, which happens to be Rio Tinto, was stopped from progressing with a new lithium mine recently in Serbia. You can find the resource in The Guardian if you go to hexochangenow.com. So my question, curious question, is why are Rio Tinto halted in the global north, stroke Europe, but not in the global south, stroke West Papua? Open question. Going further, ironically, Rio Tinto are included in one of only 2 so-called ethical investment funds out of 88 that I can invest in as part of my work pension. Curiously, I'm yet to hear from Aegon or BlackRock after repeated attempts for feedback as to who gets to decide what makes an ethical fund. And I recorded a video with regards to this realization, joining the dots between mining, financial services, and the West Papuan people. And if you go to this blog on hexochangenow.com, you can click through to watch that video reflection. So further clarification. This morning, this is yesterday, I listened to a podcast with Jason Hickel as the guest, and it was very clarifying for me as he shared that, quote, capitalism doesn't exist in a zero growth economy. We need a post-growth economy. So the thing I wanted to reflect on for me, and I'm interested in your thoughts on this, granted, the activator for examples 1, 2, and 3 that I shared above are very much externally influenced existential threats to the whole, to everyone, to the system. Yet sustaining the said change, as I indicated above, I feel, requires a remembering of our innate connection to ourselves, one another, and to systems at large in a way that I could not believe was even possible after our socialized separatist education and workplace paradigms. Yet, and this is hopeful, everything is evidence to be wholly possible. We've proved it in just less than 2 years, people. We've shown that UBI can be introduced, that we can collaborate across made-up borders when needed, and that actually everything is connected. So whilst we're on red alert with regards to climate breakdown, financial breakdown, ego breakdown, and there are multiple concurrent conflicts taking place globally, not just Russia or Ukraine, is now the time to be bold and brave in our reimagining, in reimagining our connection to ourselves, others, and systems, why we actually even have organizations in the first place. Surely, if we have a business, should it not be for the greater good and not just for shareholder value? This is beyond just B Corps. This is beyond triple bottom line stuff. This is on about how do we center those most harmed and oppressed by our Western ways currently, such as the West Papuan people. Will I, stroke we, or won't I, stroke we? Wrapping up this blog today. There is nothing stopping any of us asking bolder, more searching questions of ourselves, of our workplaces, of our institutions, and of our networks. I have found myself pretty mute in recent months, to be honest, not for a lack of not wanting to ask more searching questions, but just feeling a bit meh how to do that. Like, where are the spaces for us to be able to have a constructive, brave, yet safe dialogue about really challenging topics? I try to hold them in what I call a dream space. I've held one so far. I've got another one on the 24th of March, holding that for people that do subscribe. And I'm only saying that if you subscribe at hexochangenow.com, I'd love to invite you into the discussion, because the reason I'm doing that is if you subscribe with me, it's not for any other purpose apart from I get to know you and I know who I'm holding space with and for, because it's such sensitive, brave dialogue that we need. But where are those spaces to engage before race, before gender, before all of the intersectionality that we are? Where are those spaces that we can come together and ask the questions that maybe we don't feel safe and brave to ask at the moment? So I would assert that today, activating and sustaining change is primarily a will issue, especially of those that have, this is critical, especially of those with the resource and positional control based on the evidence of the last 24 months. Huge transformational change is possible, and it is possible right now, within us and systemically. One exploratory space, if this is interesting, is taking place across the 20th and the 21st of July, 2022. But this is secondary. That's not why I'm doing this blog. That does exist. You can find out more about it if you go to the blog on hexochangenow.com. But the point, really what I'm trying to emphasize here is everything is possible within us. We can ask more questions. We can ask more searching questions. I'm doing that within my own work organization. Like, how do we, up and down the supply chain, ask better questions? How do we ensure that we are centering those most harmed and impacted by our supply chains as part of our design going forward? We have to, this is where I believe we can really add some value as curious, connected, open-hearted and minded human beings, not by ripping shreds off each other, saying who's right and who's wrong. Yes, there are certain selection of humanity that have privilege like myself. We need to be in the dialogue. We need to be having conversations. We need to be taking action, but we need the safe and brave space to be able to do that as well. And whether we do that together, when we do that, all together, we need to, I believe, leveraging that full intersectionality. If those spaces exist right now, I would love to know where they are. I would love to invite lots of people I know into them, but I don't find them very much at the moment. I'm seeing a lot of polarization. So I'd love to invite a space, an intersectional space for people to come together, to hold space, to reimagine, to connect, and really look at the global systems, not just the European and Eurocentric systems, the global systems that are all part, and how do we ask better questions? How do we co-create better question sets together as the singular human race that we are, so that within our different contexts and our different intersectionalities, we can ask searching questions of the different institutions of which we are all part. I want to be better at that. I know that many more want to be better at that, but we need the space to come together to co-create what those questions look like before we start trying to throw mud at one another. That's how I feel. There's big systemic stuff going on right now. It is all possible. We can change it like that. Those that have got power in particular can change it like that. It's a will issue. It's not a money issue. I remember a conversation going off tangent a little bit for a moment. I remember a Clubhouse I was involved in a few months ago. This is the question they posed. If money was not an issue, okay, which it isn't, it's made up, right? It's just an energy source. But if money was not an issue, we put every single euro, pound, yen, whatever currency you want to put into the central pot, and we all looked at it and we could use it objectively. Would we solve the world's challenges, social justice, environmental, climate, etc.? No, was the agreement in that space. Even if we had every single monetary resource, because we don't have the will. There is not the desire, particularly of those with power and control and resource, to turn around our current challenges. It is a will issue, not a resource issue, would be my assertion. So better questions, better connection, grassroots from the bottom up, side in, top down. We're all equally human. My invitation is look well beyond our own immediate narratives, our own immediate shores. Let's get curious. Let's stay exploratory. Let's come from a place of care and connection whilst being constructive and also challenging healthily. That's my invitation. It's my invitation to me. I would love your comments, challenges, and whatever else may emerge for you in this share. But basic income, we've done it, people. Let's just introduce it. Like, we can coordinate across borders. Let's just cancel third world debt. Let's really center those most harmed, which, yes, there's people harmed in Europe at the moment, but there's people harmed all over the world. And we're not centering all of those other conversations, which we need to. And from that point of view, My last comment today, if you're watching me live, whether on YouTube, Twitter, or on LinkedIn, tomorrow, myself, Samantha Sapaya, my systemic guide, and B. Lorraine Smith, an incredible human being, founder of Materiality, and Sam is one of the crew at Possible Futures. We're going to be holding for the first time the Fish Eye Cafe. And very coincidentally, the first conversation is all about earthlings. What does it mean to be a human, an earthling within the current system, and where we are at the moment, as pretty much every system is collapsing. Let's be honest, that's where we're at. So I'm just going to leave you as I wrap up today with the opening credits, which if you join us tomorrow at midday UK, 1 o'clock CET, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, this will be the opening, and I hope to see you there, and I hope you find some value in these reflections. Take care.